Hello, my name is Barbara Dickson. I'm a singer, musician and actor.
January, February, I don't understand why it is you say you leave and then you turn around.
I'm going to share with you some of the songs that have shaped my life thus far. And this is me. My mother was a very fine singer. She was born in 1918 in Liverpool. My mother always sang, and she used to sing along to the radio. She had lots of records, mainly 78 RPM records. So there was always something going on in our house musically, although we weren't professional in any way. They say that I was singing in a high pram out in my granny's back garden, and the postie came up the close and he said, "Where's that singing coming from?" And someone said, "Oh, that's the bairn in the pram." And so my mother said that was my first public performance, was for the postman. So music was always there in my life from the earliest memories. It's a while since I heard that record. That's Walk Right Back by the Everly Brothers. There's so much subtext for me in the music of the Everly Brothers. They were a pop act, but they'd come from folk and country music. The potential of singing in a simple manner with a guitar was made apparent to me by listening to the Everly Brothers. You didn't seem to need to have a load of gear and masses of production to sing successfully. I was a real Everly Brothers fan. I was in the fan club. They were very influential on young people learning to play and sing. And I think that a lot of musicians would have sung Everly Brothers songs because they could easily make music, just the two of them with one guitar even. I think that's probably what encouraged other people to do the same. Well, that is a sort of 3-minute pop record, isn't it? I just love that. My secondary school days happened at the time when folk music was going through a fantastic resurgence of popularity. It became like the groovy new music. There was a move in Scotland to open folk clubs. For the first time, I was introduced to a lot of Scottish music, and suddenly this all took off. And this is where all of the people you would associate with folk music in Scotland, like Billy Connolly, Gerry, Rafferty, the McCalmans, the great Archie Fisher, Hamish Imlach, lots and lots of artists started singing in folk clubs and beginning to make a living. I was a semi-professional young lass working the civil service, actually in Rosyth. I worked in personnel, then asked for a transfer to work and live in Edinburgh, and I was sent to the Registrar General's Department. However, I kissed goodbye quite readily to that, to go off to seek my fortune, to become singer, guitarist, and travel all over the UK. It was tough to begin with because it was the age of the kind of all-round entertainer, and very often people had to be kind of really funny. Now, I worked out a good shtick for myself to do in between my songs, but I was never a comedienne. The first big thing happened to me was going to do John, Paul, George, Ringo and Bert, which was in the theatre in Liverpool and was written by my friend Willie Russell, who I'd met through folk music. It was the story of the Beatles, and I punctuated the story by singing songs. The rest really is history, because that was the thing that took me to London from Liverpool in 1974. And the show was produced by Michael Codron and Robert Stigwood. That was the thing that first put me on the map. This was suddenly the big time, because I went from sitting on stage in London to a 3-year record deal with Robert Stigwood's recording company that turned me from what I've just described into a pop star.
Words are flowing out like endless rain into a paper cup. They slither while
That's my favourite Beatles song ever. To me, it's just absolute classic John Lennon.
Pools of sorrow, waves of joy are drifting through my opened mind.
It's got the beautiful kind of strange tumbling lyrics that don't make any sense.
Jai Guru Deva.
It's very transcendental, beautiful, and the arrangement is from my album of songs of the Beatles that I did in 2006 with Troy Donockley, who's a great musician I work with all the time, and he arranged that for me, and I just think I sit rather well in that wonderful arrangement of his, with the sort of swirling, that feeling of being sort of floating in space and all the planets being beach balls. I think that's what I feel like, and very often we finish our entire show with that song. I think that singing the same songs over and over has become part of my life purely because I've had, 5 hits. I've kind of got used to the repetitive nature of singing certain songs. But actually, if you stop and say, these songs, A, are important songs, and B, are important to other people. And certainly in the case of singing your hits, they're also important to why these people are sitting here in this audience. I love that record. I think it's absolutely great. Virtually everything you hear there is a live recording. The strings, the rhythm section. I was playing the piano. Junior Campbell, the producer, is a great musician. You know, he was in the Marmalade. He's playing electric piano. The only thing we overdubbed was the backing vocals, and the steel guitar is a sort of amalgam of various players. And I love it. I really love it. It was my first pop record. When I got used to what being a pop star meant, life became a lot easier for me, but it took me a long time to get used to it. Bear in mind that I'd come from folk clubs, and I didn't see myself as in show business. I remember the first time a whole pile of little girls all ran after me in Grosvenor Square in London, and I kind of looked at them and thought, where are they going? And they suddenly stopped and they said, they asked for my autograph, and I suddenly realised they were running after me because they wanted my autograph. For the next 10 years, every single show that had a slot for music for you to promote your record, I was on it. I did 8 weeks with the two Ronnies, which was very fortuitous for me. Lots and lots of television.
Ladies and gentlemen, Barbara Dickson.
January, February, I don't understand why it is you say you leave and then you turn around.
I am lucky to have people who picked up on me at some point and have run with it and are still there years later. I was sent a demo at the end of 1984 and it sounded like an ABBA song. I had no idea it would be a hit. Well, they're actually my favourite band in the world, the band. A bunch of really experienced Canadian musicians who backed Bob Dylan. And then took off in this fantastic world of brilliant writing and wonderful songs and great ability. That's what makes music worthwhile for me, to have inspiration from people like the band. That song, The Night They Drove Old Dixie Down, is a character song. It's got loads of image in it. It's beautifully performed. It's complex and everything. So everything I've ever wanted to sing and play and be associated with in music is encapsulated in music like that. Willie Russell had become very well known in the interim period between John, Paul, George, Ringo and Bert and when he wrote Blood Brothers because of the success of Educating Rita. The role of Blood Brothers felt very close to me because I had this family in Liverpool. My mother's family were from Liverpool, and my mother had always talked about Liverpool, life in Liverpool, in the poverty that she and her family had suffered. And basically what I felt was I really wanted to get it right for my Liverpool family, for people that I knew in Liverpool. It's about a woman. She's abandoned by her husband and she gives away one of her twins so that he will have a better life. That is what motivates her. And then, of course, she's told by the woman who takes the other twin, because they do it secretly, that if she ever says what's happened, the twins will die. So that's the premise of the story. It's all about superstition. It's about poverty. It's about the pressures on a single mother to be everything to her children and to give her children the best when she can't afford it. So there were all sorts of things in there chimed with me. I wanted to be true to Mrs. Johnson, that character. I was Mrs. Johnson. There's nobody who's Mrs. Johnson other than me. I've just loaned it to lots of other people. So, you know, I am the original one, and I think I know her best of anybody.
Notify me. Well, I just... Couldn't I keep him for a few more days, please? Please, they're a pair, they go together.
I think Tell Me It's Not True makes a lasting impression on people because it's the final song in Blood Brothers and the mother reveals the truth. She reveals what actually happened to the twins.
Tell me it's not true. Say you didn't mean it.
I loved Mrs. Johnson, and so to tell her story every night was tiring, but it was a privilege. People associate me with that. They think of me as being something to do with musical theatre, but I'm not really. I mean, I can act, but I'm a musician basically who acts.
No one in your life is with you constantly. No one is completely on your side. And though I move my world to be with him,
What happened was I was sent a demo at the end of 1984 by Tim Rice, who they'd finished this musical called Chess. He'd written with Benny Andersson, Bjorn Ulvaeus. So I listened to the demo and it sounded like an ABBA song.
so much younger than
I said, yeah, I'd very much like to do that. It sounded really good. I had no idea it would be a hit. It was a huge hit in Britain and remained on the top of the charts for about 5 weeks. It was very successful for both myself and Elaine, so it was great, really good for us.
how it would go if I knew.
I was quite happy to make fun of it with Lily Savage, with Paul, because I thought that had a very interesting quality. And it was very funny with him doing all the shtick.
Help me, I think I'm falling in love again. When I get that crazy feeling, I know I'm in trouble again. I'm in trouble, 'cause you're a rambler and a gambler and a sweet-talking ladies' man. And you're loving.
I love Joni Mitchell, absolutely love her. She's a true phenomenon to women of my age. I mean, just extraordinary. I think people have always been pigeonholed when they've been in pop music, and they've always been slightly underestimated because people are only seeing one aspect of what you can do.
Help me, I think I'm falling.
She's the engine room, the great writer, fantastic lyrics, great tunes. She knew what she wanted.
'Cause I've seen some hard.
Yes, she's class act. She was a really good guitar player. That was important to me because I was a guitar player. Not many women played the guitar. She was a good guitar player. She mainly played in open tunings, which I still can't quite understand. That's how she was able to get that great big sound that she got. She's just great. She could make music completely on her own. She didn't need any production. If you look beautiful and they want you to, make a record, that's cool. But, if you're any good and you can make music on your own, that's just a brilliant thing. Because you can sing in a room at a party and sound like yourself. She's written songs which are toe-tapping, like that one, but the lyrics are beautiful, and melodies are so complex. Lovely long fade out there. I can't think of anybody in music like Joni Mitchell.
Spinning on another wheel, going round in slow motion, caught up in another dream.
I love that song. It's very sad. It's very sad now because Gerry Rafferty is no longer here. And he died in 2011, and that was a song of his that I had done in the 1980s. And it became the title track of an album. And it was lovely because he said it was his favourite track of anybody covering his songs, and that was a great compliment.
But you don't want to start out just yet. You watch the seasons come and go. You remember and then you forget.
I'm very tied to Gerry emotionally, and still sing his songs. I made an album of his music in 2013, and I was really so delighted that John Byrne actually painted the cover for the album, and he'd done all of Gerry's early albums. So, I mean, it was just a great privilege. I just take the songs and make them right for me to sing and to introduce to people. Very often for the first time, they don't know the songs.
And if you should go across the water.
You know, when I come to Scotland, there'll be some Scottish songs, but there will be Answer Me. There'll be Another Suitcase and Another, there'll be Caravans. And there'll be songs that people who are sitting there who first come to see me years ago couldn't bear if I didn't sing. And why would I disrespect them?
Caravans on my soul.
I didn't start off being a pop star. I was an obscure folk singer for 8 years. That's cool. I like that. I quite like obscurity. I like people to come and see my shows, but I don't want to be on the jungle. And as Billy Connolly would say, it's better than welding.
Oh, I don't